Okay, now we go on to Singapore factories, Singapore manufacturing factories. Now there are basically 4 reasons why Singapore factories are in Iskandar. 4. Cheaper labor, cheaper land. Okay, land also not just rental but cheaper electricity, cheaper water bills. Okay, and FX advantage for exports because the Malaysian ringgit is a weaker currency, good for exporting companies. Sing dollar, the problem is that Singapore dollar is very strong. When Singapore dollar is strong, when you export overseas, your goods become expensive. So preferably, not so good to have Sing dollar as your home currency. And last point is proximity to home, proximity to Singapore. You can open factory in China, you can open factory in Vietnam. Okay, but the good thing about opening in Johor is that nearby. Anything go wrong, you can see. Monitoring is also easier. Okay, very important for companies who are based in Singapore or multinationals who are headquartered in Singapore, of which there are many. Okay, so it's not a new trend. More than 300 factories from Singapore have moved to Iskandar ever since 2006. The numbers are growing. Okay, examples of people who have went. This guy makes instant coffee and cereal. He has left for Iskandar Malaysia. Okay, this guy makes heavy duty plastic bag. He has also left for Iskandar Malaysia, right? Been in Singapore since 1980, okay, but left because labor shortage, high electricity bills. Okay, very common problem for Singapore factories. Okay, now OCBC Singapore, okay, expects a 3-fold rise in loans over the next 2 years. This was taken last year. So OCBC Singapore says, I'm giving out 3 times more money to companies moving over to Iskandar. Can you imagine? Triple the business. Okay, and RHP Singapore made a similar statement. Double of business in 2013, double again in 2014. So more and more companies taking loan, expanding, okay, going over to Johor, going over to Iskandar. Okay, now politicians are saying very nice things. Okay, Iskandar an asset, not a threat. I think the Singapore government, the stance is better you go over to Iskandar and survive rather than you struggle and die in Singapore. Okay, so politicians have been very supportive. Now, Singapore Ascendas. Okay, many of you may know who Ascendas is. Ascendas is one of Singapore's homegrown companies, business space operator. Okay, they own a lot of industrial property, office space in Singapore. Now, Ascendas 2 years ago bought 210 hectares or 500 acres in Iskandar. Okay, what are they going to do? They are going to build Nusa Jaya Tech Park. This is basically a B1 light industrial park, very similar to Changi Business Park, very similar to One North in Singapore. So what are they going to do? 500 acres, 200 companies, 20,000 employees. That is the target. First phase end of 2015. Okay, Ascendas is a very big company, actually wholly owned by the Singapore government. And they have done this type of business parks before in China, Vietnam, Australia, Japan. First one in Malaysia. Malaysia where? Iskandar. Iskandar where? Nearer to the second link in Nusa Jaya. Okay, Ascendas. Can you imagine, I ask you, these 200 companies, where do you think they will come from? Okay, the majority will be Singapore companies. 70% cheaper than Singapore. Freehold, not leasehold. Okay, security done by Certis Cisco. Who's the developer? Ascendas itself, a brand name which they can trust. Okay, it's not some third-party company which they don't know. So Ascendas opening Nusa Jaya Tech Park will be a very, very massive job creation. Pulls a lot of business into Iskandar, manufacturing-wise. Okay, if you visit the site, this is a picture of the site. You can see it on the way to Gelang Patah. Okay, currently doing land clearing. Latest we heard, the groundbreaking ceremony will be done in June by both the Malaysian and Singaporean Prime Ministers. Okay, in June. This will be a very big project. Okay, now other players in Iskandar are China Huawei. Okay, setting up a shared regional center. This will be end of 2014. Okay, and very massive center. And Frost & Sullivan, these are also IT consultants, also opening end of this year, their main facility. Okay, and Johor, the state of Johor has received the highest investments in manufacturing in July, up to July 2013. Okay, usually the winners in Malaysia is normally Kuala Lumpur, which is Selangor area, or Penang. Okay, but this year, or we can say last year, 2013, Johor received the highest amounts of investments in manufacturing. That says something very important about how we are getting money. The other industry, service industries, is actually what we call Motorsports hub. Now again, we're going back to Peter Lim. Okay, the same Peter Lim who's building the Thomson Medical Hospital. Okay, in this case, we now have the same Peter Lim. He's going to build a motorsports hub in Zone B, Iskandar, Malaysia. What does this motorsports hub include? It includes an F1 racetrack. F1, Formula 1 standard racetrack. Okay, and you ask me, why would Peter Lim want to build an F1 track in Johor? What is the business model? Okay, now Singapore, you have a lot of nice cars. You go to Orchard Road on a Friday night, you can see a lot of Ferraris, Porsches, Lamborghinis. Okay, and all these cars, very nice, very expensive, but you cannot go very fast in Singapore. Singapore, what's the speed limit? 80, 90. Okay, so what the idea is, you take your car, your very nice sports car, bring over to Peter Lim's F1 track, drive very fast, pretend to be Sebastian Vettel, pretend to be Michael Schumacher, okay, and you pay Peter Lim a fee for borrowing his racetrack. After that, you can service your car here, half price. Why? Done in Malaysia, but also done by a Singapore company. It's a brand name that you can trust. Okay, so very, very smart business plan. This project was originally supposed to be done in Changi, but got cancelled because Singapore too expensive to do this. So this project will now run in Iskandar. Okay, construction will start next year, 2015. Okay, now the other angle is shopping. Okay, now as per what we said earlier, more and more tourists are coming to Iskandar. Now tourists, other than visiting the theme parks, the next thing on their things to do list will be shopping. So we're building all these massive shopping malls. Shopping in Johor today actually is what I call very low to medium quality. There's not a lot of good shopping in Johor. You don't go to Johor to buy Louis Vuitton, to buy Prada bags. Okay, but with all these shopping malls, that is set to change. Okay, to give you an example of size, Vivo City in Singapore is about 1.1 million square feet. Vivo City, 1.1 million square feet. So can you imagine massive shopping malls, at least the size of Vivo City, easily 4 to 5 of them are being built in Iskandar. Okay, this will raise the level of shopping in Iskandar, Malaysia. And the other question you ask, who are the tenants? Where would the tenants come from? Actually, quite a number of these shopping mall tenants will be from Singapore. From Singapore, because why Singapore companies will come and set up shop here? More and more Singaporeans own property in Johor. More and more Singaporeans visit Johor, so the tenants will follow them, follow the same market. Okay, so this slide basically summarizes, okay, all the job creation activity which I've shared in the past half an hour. Okay, so this is the reasons why people invest in Iskandar. Okay, it's not that people got too much money or too much time. Okay, nothing better to do, go and buy Johor. Okay, these are the economic reasons, the job creation reasons why people invest in Iskandar. And as you can see, they are all very strong. A lot of things are already happening, underway, already completed. So people invest following this. Okay. Now, this is why we call Iskandar the new boomtown. Okay. Now we go on to the next section of the presentation, which is basically the impact and the relation to the Singapore market.